I'm ready. We may be gone, but we're not forgotten. The chance to do a show for children was just, you know, that's wonderful. And I got paid for it, too. Not well, but I got paid for it.
When he told me he did Bumpity, I was like, oh my God, that's my earliest memories of television. And I was like honored and to meet him and to talk to him.
People knew who Bumpity was. They didn't know what he was, but they knew who he was.
There's this piece of sod that talks to a worm.
You never know about Fred, you know. He's got something going all the time here.
They have a librarian come in and read library books.
And I brought a present to share with you, a story called Countdown to Christmas.
And then the piece of dirt is very nice to everybody and polite and says goodbye, and that's the show.
Thank you so much, Sandy, for bringing us that nice story.
You're very welcome.
I hope we'll see you again sometime.
Bumpity likes to be the star. And when he gets a dream, he always sees himself in the middle of the picture.
People liked to sit on the set because it was so fun and so friendly.
And if somebody gave me a chance to do the show again, I'd be in there in a New York minute.
Yes, it reminds me, Bumpity said, well, if you come down to Bumpity Park...
Remember, kids, when you're down at Bumpity Park and you step on a lump in the lawn...
Be sure not to step on it.
Be careful, because it might be me.
It might be me.
Yeah, that's Bumpity, all right.
See you next week. Goodbye.
He took out the puppet out of his suitcase and showed it to me. And it was pretty exciting. And I didn't want to see it until there were cameras rolling and it was being recorded.
They have their own sense of time. Is the puppet an animal? An animal? An animal? Whose hand is controlling the puppet? It is a test. A test.
When I'm done, I'm done. I said I can, stop. And then...
I know what you're up to.
Okay. At the end of the day, enough is enough, and I don't need any more of that.
Oh my goodness sakes.
Bumpy documentary? Is that what this is? Who's Bumpity?
Man, I watched Bumpity when I was a little kid. He's a bump in the grass, right? One of the last, real children's-oriented shows, that the Portland area ever had. We don't have that anymore. I love Bumpity, man!
My name is Bumpity, that's what everybody calls me, but I've also got another name, which is Alexander J. Bump. Channel 2 was going to do a kids show. They wanted it just for kids, up to maybe 10 years, 12 years old. I was working for OMSI at the time as their exhibits director. And I was also doing a couple of television shows on Channel 2. And so the director talked to my friend Bob, and he said, have you got any ideas? And Bob said, yeah, I think I do. I said, well, what are you going to call it? And he said, well, there was my little nephew was going down the stairs. He's about 2 years old, 2.5 years old, and he was bouncing from step to step. And he's shouting at the top of his lungs, Bumpity, 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 every time he would bounce off a step. And I said, but that name Bumpity just strikes me as being a wonderful name. And have you thought about having a puppet? And he said, well, what kind? And I said, I can kind of see it. That evening after work, I went over to a discount fabric place, and there was a piece of material, green, kind of shaggy material.
And I took it home and I started working on it. I sort of was sewing this thing together. I took a piece of felt and made his mouth, kind of a yellow mouth, and another piece of red felt. I had some stuff and I made his tongue. And a couple of ping pong balls with buttons on them for eyes. And here came this puppet.
And next morning, there I was. And in all my pristine effulgence.
And the next day I called Wayne and I said, I've got a puppet for you. He was kind of surprised. He thought maybe a week, you know. He came over, he took one look, and he said, that's Bumpity. That's Bumpity. He said, how does he sound? And I said, well, considering everything, I think he'd probably sound a little bit like this. I mean, look at there. You know, how else could I talk?
We'll be back in just a minute, boys and girls. Fred, sometimes you are an absolute caution.
Can you tell me what you've been doing during your retirement?
Well, I hate to tell you, but I kind of been taking it easy in a suitcase most of the time. It's not much work for out of work bumps, you know.
I suppose not.
No.
How did that get down there, Fred? Have you noticed we seem to have company this morning?
Oh, hi there! Whoa!
Whoa! Those things don't show up all the time, and you got to take advantage of them. A marshmallow this time. Yeah, marshmallow.
Bumpity, you're on!